Okay, let's see if we're live. Is it starting? Great. I have a stream of myself streaming. That gets weird. Okay. Let's try this. I am live, right? Look at my channel. Fantastic. Here we go. All right, let's check our settings. I believe we're good. All right. We're recording, so now we should actually do something. Sounds like a great idea, doesn't it? Okay, I will keep checking to see if I have anyone in my stream. This is gonna be the best way to do that, I guess. All right. Don't you love watching me trying to figure things out? Good. Okay, we are alive with no viewers, and that is fine. So I'm recording this to make sure that we have proper functionality, and I'm going to just write a little code this morning. What I think I'll do is give about 5 minutes for people to sprinkle into the stream. So far, so good. Looks like we're fine. Okay. Fantastic. That is probably me. While I'm at it, let me grab that message. Go back to Blackboard. Nope. Get the link here. Be right back. Hey, sweetie. Okay. Well, look, I didn't expect a bunch of people to show up. This is perfect on a snow day where it's not actually snowing yet, but we are closed. I thought I would put something up to be useful for multiple sections for C++. I made a file here called m3random, and like I said, if you're in my face-to-face sections, we're going to do this. Either we already did it or we'll do it next week. And with online, I wanted to include this as an optional bonus. So what's a random number? What's a pseudo-random number? Let's go ask our friend Copilot for fun, just to see what it says. There we go. Fantastic. Now, I hope this doesn't come off across as me being lazy. I always tell people, if you're trying to get a handle on a topic, well, don't have AI do work for you, but have it do a little research. Usually we'll talk about gaming and simulation, but in cryptography, it is very important that you have large numbers that you multiply with other large numbers to get a number that would be very hard to divide out, what they call factoring, and using random numbers would work for that. So most of the time, we're using what's called a pseudo-random number generator. Yep. So what happened in C++, or sorry, C Sharp, not C++, They took some existing code that was pretty good at making original random numbers, and they broke it. So if you write C# code, which you probably won't, you have to use a different random number generator. This is just me being silly. I just wanted to see if it's willing to critique its masters. Yeah, so they're not really saying what happened, but what happened is Microsoft said, we're going to improve this 50-year-old piece of code, and they broke it. That doesn't apply to us. I just think it's funny. I like to sometimes see if AI is willing to be honest about its owner. And it kind of was, but it didn't go into a bunch of details why it didn't work. So let me show you what I mean by pseudo-random number generator. I'm going to roll some dice. Okay. Let's make sure nobody showed up yet. Oh, hey, good. Okay. Hopefully audio is okay. We'll see if people can see that. Could just be all my devices making sure that I'm connected. So what I wanted to do is look through the process of using a pseudo-random number generator. Okay. Pseudo-random. Okay. So I thought I'd just borrow some code out of here. Again, I'll just make sure. Okay. Hopefully we're good. Like I said, I will check chat every so often. I'm kind of used to using Blackboard, but I thought it would be good to make sure my YouTube chops still work. Okay, so the program I had, I looked at a little example of what I did. I want to use rand and srand. That's fantastic. Good. Okay, so I'm going to say int max 6. From 1 to 6. So we'll do just a regular dice roll. We might take this and make a craps game, a simple dice game. But for now, I just want to roll some dice. Okay. Now I'll say here int roll equals rand. Okay. And I'll get a number. Let's see if it wants to. It does not. So occasionally my run button disappears, so I have to push this, but that's okay. All right. Okay. Always show errors. I managed to. Oh dear. There we go. Sorry, Siri decided that she wanted to get in on the fun. Okay, my roll was a very large number. So what's happening here? So the random number, I'm getting some values, but they're not really what I need. So we have this. I can say %max. Okay, so the percent sign is called the modulo operator, but I just think of it as the remainder operator because that's how it works. So, let me show you real quick. So I'm gonna roll this number, and I'm just gonna take the last digit by, dividing it by 10 and just keeping the remainder. There we go. Cool. So I can get this number here. Well, in this case, I want it to be a number from 1 to 6. So I'm going to do this. Now, why do constant int? If I haven't talked about that with you, it's because we don't want to use magic numbers. So I'm going to define, this is the sides of the dice. There are different types of dice. If you've ever played, Dungeons and Dragons, about 20-sided dice and 10-sided dice. Well, your regular die is a cube, so it has 6 sides. And when you roll it, you get a number from 1 to 6. So let's try that out now and see what I get. Okay, I get the roll 1. Fair enough. But let's run it again. I get the roll 1. So this is what pseudo-random means. Let me try this here. I'm going to say, I could add 3 more rolls. This is pretty sloppy. I'm just going to, you know, do the code. Actually, wait, will this even work? Yeah, it'll work. So I'm just going to print out a few random numbers to show you what I'm doing. I'll put this code up, make it available for everybody later. So I rolled 1 and 4 and 3. I roll it again, I get 1 and 4 and 3. Now, if you were around for the beginning when I was talking about the issue that Microsoft's had, this is not that. Every pseudo-random number generator has this problem. What a pseudo-random number generator really does, it's a function. So you put in a number, get a number out, and then the next number you get is not predictable. So if you had a function that said x equals x plus 1, then the output is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You know, it's very predictable. This function, rand, gives you an output that is not predictable. However, it's always the same. So what we need to do is set these values. So let's do this. I'm going to say here, what's your lucky number? And I'll just leave that here. Okay, cool. And then I better make another variable. Int seed. Okay. And then cn seed. Cool. Okay. So now when I run this program, it's going to ask me for my lucky number. And I'm going to say my lucky number, of course, is 42. And now I get 1 and 4 and 3. Okay, well, I'm not really working yet. So I want to do this. I want to say seed the RNG. And I say srand seed. Okay. Now, when you mouse over things like this, if I kind of look at this, yeah, it'll tell me that's what srand is. Srand takes a number and it seeds the generator. And rand returns a number like that. Okay. So now that I've seeded this, because I'm actually using my seed, let's try it with 42, and I get 005. Well, those are a little funky, so let's fix that in a minute. But I'll try a different number. This time my lucky number is about 2012. And I get different numbers. And in fact, for every seed I use, I will get different numbers, but I will get the same numbers in the same order. So if anybody's played Minecraft, I mentioned this in one of my classes. When you put in the name of a world, it generates the world randomly, but it uses the name as a seed. So everybody who uses that name, all the random numbers would come out to make the same world. You know, this whole giant world, all these dice rolls, all the same. So some issues here, right? So one thing I noticed is I was getting numbers of 0. So let's do this. I'm going to say here, and I'm just going to clean this up. Okay, and I'm going to say here, +1, okay. And then I'm just going to copy this code 3 times, which is a little sloppy, but it will let me show you what's going on. So when this says a random number between 0 and rand max inclusive, inclusive means includes. So when I roll from a number from 1 to 6, so inclusive actually means, you know, underneath it. So I'm getting a number from 0 to 5. So now I should get a number from 1 to 6. If this isn't sticking, basically that's okay. What you'll end up understanding is you have to have srand and then rand, and then you do a little bit of code to make the numbers match. The next time we use this, we're going to write a function ourselves, which we can call and repeat, so we don't have to copy and paste this code. So let's see what I have. Okay, hey, good morning. All right, glad we have a few people in here. Good. Like I said, I'll have the VOD on for later, so people will be able to look at it. Some of this is refresh for some of you, and some of it's new. Again, I'm going to go from the top, and I'll make sure this code is available in Module 3. So I need CMath, which is the CMath library to call rand, which gives me pseudo-random numbers. And then I'm going to need the CTime in a second. Okay. So now that I think this is looking good, I'm going to run it again. Actually, let me check my code in real quick. Works with set seed. Right, so you know there are times when maybe being able to replicate how something works is useful. Is it still running? Yes, it is. Cool. Here's my number. So I'll say a big number. This is my roll. Run it again. Use a different seed, and I get 3 in a row. Hey, and that could happen. You know, just because there's a 50-50 chance of getting heads or tails doesn't mean you might get tails, tails, tails. Randomness randomness can't see the future. So after we're given roll, you might say, wow, that was really unlikely. But each roll is independently likely. So I'm going to say here, I'll do 11 this time, and I get 6, 3, 4. So the point I'm making is the seed causes these numbers to be different, but there's no obvious connection between the seed and the numbers. So now what I want to do is I will say time 0. I'm just going to say this, cout. Okay, and I will just comment this code out. So now what I'm going to do is use some true randomness, which is you and me, you and I. When I turn the computer on and run it, I'll never do that exactly at the same speed. You know, I'll pet my dog. Hey, girl. I'm just checking on you. I'm just using you as an example. Sorry. You're fine. She's on the floor next to me. Or I might get a cup of coffee or what have you. So this seed is going to always be different because I'm using when I started the time. And it's in some very small numbers, so very small increments. I'll show you what I mean. So now I have a seed here. And I have a big seed right here. So my number is 2, 3, 2. Run it again. I have a different seed, 6, 1, 3. So these numbers, if you look at them, they're, okay, that's 1, 3, 7, right? 173, 9, 9. So I'm going to run it again. Still 173, 9, 9. So this is counting off. And so it's going to always be different. And because the seed just has to be distinct to get a new number, that's going to work just fine. Okay. That's this version, so I'm going to check this in, and I will say now what might you do with this? Let's commit that. Okay, great. Again, going top to bottom, the code I will conclude. I have my usual stuff. I have my new code for pseudo-random and my code for random. I get a seed. Now this is going to set the seed, and then all the numbers that follow are going to be different. So one thing I could do is change this a little bit. I'm going to say now roll 1, roll 2 total, and I'm going to set this to be 2 different ones. Okay. And I'm going to say total equals roll 1 plus roll 2. Okay. And then indel, let's try that out. No, I won't commit that yet. I want to test it before I do that. Yes, I did. I meant to say roll 1 and roll 2. So I'm rolling 2 dice now. And let's see what my result is. Okay, I got a 4. Very good. Okay, so now I'm going to add in what we do in this module, which is a simple if statement. So 2 and 12, lose. Later. Okay, so I don't want to explain the full rules. There's a flow chart that I'll give everybody. But I can do some if statements to start off with. So I can say if total equals 7. Okay. And I might want to say in this way, else if. Now, one thing I want to point out, you're going to get used to this, 2 equal signs. That means a comparison. So this is a yes, no, true, false question. So I programmed earlier this week, it did something really handy, which was if you needed like a vague message, like, hey, you won, it would just use a large language model to come up with a bunch of synonyms like congratulations or good job. Okay, else if total is 2, that eyes. Snake eyes. Okay. You can watch almost any movie that takes place in Vegas if you want to know more about craps, but it's probably not super important. 12. So, you know. Cool. Else. Okay, I have too many, there we go, quotes. All right, so I've got a roll, and now I'm comparing it. If I were to go, again, real quick to Bing, let's show you. So, rules of craps dice game. I'll just get a little summary here. That's not really very helpful, actually. Wow, yeah, this is not going to help out a lot. And there's things like the table, you know, the etiquette, how to behave. Really, what I know the place I want to go, so I want to go to WikiHow craps game. Let's see if this works. Fantastic, WikiHow, fantastic site. Pretty silly sometimes, but here we go. So first roll, 7, 11 are winners. 2, 3, and 12 are loser numbers. So I forgot 3. I better add that one in, and then the other ones come later. So good. Okay, so I need to add another if statement. And yes, there is a bunch of ways to do this. So lucky okay. So now I have the issue of, am I going to be able to get all these things to happen? Well, let's find out. This is one reason why knowing how to turn off an odd seeding is really useful, because I might want to, you know, be able to replicate my rolls. Maybe I have a bug that only happens if I roll a 7, right? So this looks like it was good. So I roll a 6 and a 1, lucky number 7. I'm going to hide the seed because we've kind of proven that works. And run it again. At least get one of my losses. Okay. So I roll 2 and 2 is 4. Another 2 and 2 is 4. Okay, so if I get one loss, I feel like I'm happy. It's going to be a while. It's usually if I put money on the table, I'm sure I could lose right away. Okay. Guess I should have gone to Vegas. You know, the other thing I would do later is just write a simulator to run this over and over again until I get a 2 or a 3 or a 12. Okay. Wow. I had a mistake. All right, so that code should have said 3, because 3 should have been a loss according to WikiHow. Now this is getting kind of complicated. Most of the time you might do something like heads or tails. And then, you know, if you had heads, then you win. If you had tails, you lose. But I wanted to show you one of the more complicated ones kind of as we went. Great. And I'm going to try one more to see if I can get another loss. No, another win. That's great. Still rolling 7s. Okay. I'm gonna just leave it as I have it because I feel like I'm just rolling dice now. So let's go back over it just to see exactly what I have going on. I have my includes. I do my SRAND seed here. I could kind of remove all these comments. Once I have a good SRAND, I do a roll. I roll again. I add them together. That is the 2 dice. And then I have a whole bunch of if statements. And again, we're going to do plenty of these, but the idea is if you only want one of the conditions to happen, which makes sense if you roll the dice, like you win, lose, or draw, and the draw called a point, it means you keep rolling. So we're going to get to that in the next module when we do loops. So what's happening here is if, else, if, else, if, else. So any other number I roll, including if I had a bug in my code and like I rolled, 3 million or -5, it would come out here. Now, the reason these numbers are like that, I think is kind of interesting. Let me just show you really quickly. If I go back to Bing and just say distribution of 2d6. Yep, that should give me a nice curve. Yeah, but I want to see a picture. This is probably a video game site, so that sounds about right. There we go, good. So if you roll 2 dice, well, the only way to get a 2 would be to roll 2 ones, which is pretty unlikely, right? It's 1 in 36. To roll a 12, 1 in 36. But you could get a 1 and a 6, a 3 and a 4, a 2 and a 5, a 5 and a 2. There are lots of ways to roll a 7. I'm going to save that image. That's pretty darn good. Yep. Okay. So kind of like how a gotcha game, gives you your first pull and then you win. At the craps table, 7's pretty likely. So it's pretty likely. The most likely thing to happen is that you will win on your first roll. And then you get excited, and then what do? You bet more. And then in some of these later rolls, what happens when you get a point is when you're trying to re-roll your point. So if you rolled like a 4, you want to roll another 4. But if you get a 7, you lose. So this is funny because this is describing Warhammer 40K, because I know what a melt-a-bomb is. But the point is that the distribution works well for anything. And in the real world, you have a lot of what you might call a bell curve distribution. This is kind of bell-shaped. It's more triangular. And that's one reason you'll see a lot of games that use multiple dice instead of 1 die. Okay. Now that I have that done, I'm going to check this in. And I will put this up for everyone to look at and to play around with. And like I said, for the bonus assignment, or M3T3, depending on what section you're in, we're pretty much recreating this. I want to kind of do it from scratch, but I wanted to give you a template to work for. Okay. Any questions? I think we're probably good. I appreciate folks popping in and checking it out. I think we're good. Oh, I have to wait until my stream catches up with live. Looks like I have a bitrate issue, so I will look into that for next time too. Okay. Yep, my stream just finally caught up with where it was. So I'll check this later. Like I said, I wanted to make sure I have some different options to post information for y'all. But I appreciate you checking it out, and I will make sure that the saved video is available for all of you to look at later. So with that, I'm going to sign out. Thanks a lot.